Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politic.
Thank you
for joining us.
Are you awake?
I am. It's good to be with you. Make sure you share the show. Pastor Toby, Chuck Knox, and the Water Boy.
Hey.
We are going to be traveling to a couple conferences coming up here. We're going to be at ReformCon October 24th through 26th. Make sure you guys sign up. If you guys are going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, we'd love to see you guys there. We're also going to be at Trinity Church.
You haven't changed that website.
No, I haven't changed the website yet. I'm just going to leave it up there.
TrinityKirk.org.
Right? Go to TrinityKirk.org. You can sign up. We're going to be in Seattle. Christ over politics. Jesus over politics.
Listen to you.
Yeah, it's like wasted calories, you know.
That's November 1st and 2nd. I'm just going to keep going here. G3. We're going to be also at G3.
January.
In January, we got a couple live shows that we're going to be doing G3 conference. I believe pricing is actually going up this week, so make sure you guys sign up before.
That's in Atlanta.
That's in Atlanta, Georgia. Bojangles and Chick-fil-A.
Pro-life
You better believe it. That's right. And so make sure you guys show up there.
Took away my camera. It's gone.
I know.
Yes.
You can't.
Took away all the cameras. Just one. I just took away all of them.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like, which one am I going to talk to now?
We have one.
Hey, you guys, pay attention to me, not them.
I don't like talking to that one.
Join the club. I got. I'll be sending out all our Fight, Laugh, Feast pints for September here at the end of the month. So if you guys want to get into that, I'll be sending out pints.
But everybody that signed up this month, their pints are on their way. Their pints are coming.
At the end of the month,
what are your kids doing?
School.
Get them.
It's a busy month.
They get home.
So the child labor on Saturday comes in and makes it happen.
We're really grateful. Thank you to every single one of you that has joined, that's a member. We love hearing from you.
Yeah.
We get messages from y'all, and we don't talk about them a lot of times on the show just because we really want to keep giving you content.
Yeah.
But thank you. We read your we read your emails, your encouragements, your questions, even though we don't always get back to you. Sometimes you who's that one guy who wrote us and it was had this question, this really long question?
We had this. He's a club supporter in South Carolina.
He's a
high school student.
High school student. High school students can join.
And he wrote us this.
It was about lying.
Profound letter about lying.
About
lying.
Christians
is it appropriate
lying and deception. And so, we finished the letter and we're like, you need to come on the show and give us a lecture on Christians and lying.
Yeah, I said parents who are raising kids like this, he can just go to his mom and dad and get the answer.
And I'm like, why is he even joining the club? He's too smart for us.
So thank you for your support.
But seriously, we read those letters. We love hearing from you, and thank you for your support. You're making this show happen, and it's so encouraging. It really is.
This past week, the UN had a big climate meeting here in New York.
Yeah,
and one of the things
was that any electricity?
Yeah, they all flew in, except for Greta Thunberg, but we'll get there.
Oh,
and I think I kind of watching a lot of the video footage that came out of this. There's a DC climate change rally this week, and then there's the UN climate meeting.
Okay.
Oh,
and watching all this, I believe the leaders that are the current generation of political leaders, I don't think they really believe in the existential threat that they keep calling climate change.
Not even Al Gore.
No, all his predictions are already gone anyways. All the iceberg caps are supposed to melt away, I think, in 2012. I think that was one of his predictions. Yeah.
False prophet. Are we going to stone
Hal Lindsey and Al Gore, right?
That's right.
Hal
That's
Lindsey.
Right. And Obama just bought a beach house.
Right.
As Casey Cortez says within 10 years, Miami's not going to be Miami anymore. It's going to be.
But Obama bought a beach house.
Obama buys a beach house.
Actually, that works out. All the normal people who believe AOC are selling off.
Right.
And Obama's like, I'll buy that.
That's for cheap.
That's a good plan, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, one side is scaremongering, and the other side is buying it up.
Good business deals.
How do you save $200,000 on your next beach house?
Global warming.
AOC, can you send another tweet out?
And so, but I think what's happening is the next generation who's gone through the public school system and the curriculum, listening to the media, listening to our current politicians talk about the existential threat of global warming. They actually believe it.
Yeah.
Okay,
and they're far more emotional about it. And I think that's what you kind of saw happen at the UN climate meeting. This brings us to Greta Thunberg, where Greta and all her white privilege got in a yacht and took a 10-day trip over to the U.S. So a little vacation over to the U.S.
You said there was some great white privilege.
Yeah, I know.
I almost got a little offended by that myself.
And with her rich parents, gets in their yacht and takes a 10-day trip over to the U.S. to be able to speak at the climate
boat, just
summit.
Yacht?
Is a yacht.
A 50-foot yacht.
50-foot yacht.
And
so they didn't have paddles or
all
anything.
the privilege and luxury.
Some kind of like turbines underneath. I don't know, but apparently it was supposed to be some kind of huge, virtue signaling, like
50-foot yacht.
Yeah, this is like the Joan of Arc of environmentalists.
Right? Is your living room 50 foot?
No.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? You are failing us. But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up. And change is coming, whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Oh, she's an evangelist.
Yeah. Well, she's right about one thing. She shouldn't be up there.
That's true.
And another thing, they are failing her. Just not in the way that she thinks they're failing her.
Right. Well, I also think she's right about her parading young kids before the audiences, making a spectacle out of all this.
Well, and they are giving her a lot of empty words.
Oh, yeah.
So she's right about that, but not in the same way.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think the current leadership generation doesn't really believe in the existential threat of global warming. Yeah. They're just using it to manipulate the masses, to usher socialism into our economy, to get political capital with their people, power. Yeah.
So part of my challenge with this is that she's with the girl 16 years old.
Yeah. Right.
So I have a tendency growing up where I tend to look at people at a certain age as adults. So at 16, I didn't have the luxury of being a child. Like I had to function as a man at 16. Yeah. So I have a tendency to put people into adulthood a little early.
Yeah.
But I see this and I still feel like that she's not there.
Yeah.
She's still a child and she still needs to be protected and she's not being protected.
Yeah,
and they're throwing her out in the middle of battle.
Right. Yeah. That's a child soldier.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Human shield.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're trying to,
that's bad.
It's manipulative.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're trying to use the emotional appeal of a teenage girl.
It's the jamming process again.
And are you going to hate on this girl? You stole her dreams. You need to feel bad.
Yes.
Feel bad and then give her a platform.
Yep.
But she's being manipulated. She's being used.
Yeah. And she's doing the Paul Washer sermon where he says, "I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you."
Yeah.
She's trying to pull that off. And these people are like, "Yay!"
Yeah. Right.
Right.
She's like, "It's your fault," and they're like, "Yes, that's right." So she doesn't.
David Chappelle did the same thing, right, with his impersonation.
And they didn't.
And they're like Trump, and he's like, "No, it's you."
Yeah. And they're like, "Hey."
Well, the other thing that's pretty deeply hypocritical about all of this is, think about all the Me Too stuff.
Yeah.
Putting a girl out here in the front lines is not protecting a daughter.
Right.
The parents of this girl ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not protecting their daughter.
Right.
And
and they taught her. There's another video of her going around where her parents taught her how to recycle, don't turn the lights on. All this.
So what happens?
Crazy stuff.
Just imagine for a second. Let's say why there's no reason at all why this girl couldn't be 12, right?
Right.
So just imagine a very articulate 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Who's doing the same thing.
Right.
But only she's saying, "But I really love that older man."
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And why are you taking away my dreams to be
Right.
married to this 38-year-old man?
Right.
This 50-year-old man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The arguments that this whole revolution will not include a P in the LGBTQ
Right.
plus
P.
Alphabet soup is absolutely ridiculous.
If her words have equity here,
Right.
they have to have equity all the way down.
And why not a 12-year-old?
Yeah,
If
that's
we
right.
take her seriously, Why not a 12-year-old?
Why not a 12-year-old?
Why can't she give consent?
Are those lights? I'm sorry, Gabe. You switch back just for a second. I'm just wondering what's powering those lights back there. Is it just
on the screen?
On the stage? What's powering the microphone?
You don't think they're using fossil fuels?
I'm wondering.
You think anybody? I mean,
I'm just because it'd be really horrible to
here's another
get on
question.
The boat over here.
Speaking of the boat, how do you think they made that boat? Fiberglass. How did they do that?
Yeah. A lot of carbon.
Do you think there were any carbon emissions?
And making the materials for the boat?
Oh, you know what?
Hypocrisy.
But she will never forgive people who let her down. But you know what? She's never going to be forgiven either. Yeah. You can't ever be forgiven of your climate sins.
Amen.
That's right. There is no forgiveness.
This you can pay some reparations. Maybe.
Yeah.
You can buy some indulgences.
Right.
From the
slight coverings
from the climate papists.
So here's a coherent argument for climate change.
Here to talk about our sacrifices and our doom and gloom and not existing. We are here to create.
Where did that come from?
We are creating this movement every day because every day of inaction drives more action from us.
My ears.
Oh,
so
man.
while Greta's at the UN climate change, this is a DC climate rally that's going on.
So she's the preacher.
Yeah.
She's the preacher.
Sort of.
She could use a few rhetoric classes at NSA. I'm just saying.
To create.
Did you hear the audio guy back there the first time? It was all important. He's like, yeah, we're going to use the other mics, not the handheld. We're going to let the other mics pick her up. He's
trying to help her out.
My ears.
That is hilarious.
But David, you know what, though? This is prophetic in one sense because this is exactly what their movement sounds like. It's just screechy.
It really is.
The whole thing is like that.
It's emotional arguments, and that's why you get girls like Greta also being brought out because of the emotional, sentimental arguments. While this is all going on, this is from AEI, over the last number of years, this is a chart showing you the reductions and increases in CO2 emissions. The U.S. has the largest reduction in CO2 emissions. This whole argument.
Should we be proud of that, though?
I know.
So why aren't they in China?
But
exactly.
India. So I think the point here is
Greta, you went the wrong way.
You went to the wrong
happy
country.
For them sanctions from Trump.
So you see,
somebody needs to support.
That's right.
Ask her the question. So are you so proud of Trump's sanctions on China?
Look what I mean.
So for our listeners who can't see the chart on the audio side of things, U.S. has the highest reductions in CO2 emissions, and China has the largest.
What are those
increases?
What are those numbers?
CO2?
Like 40, 20? What is those numbers? Like millions or?
I think pounds in CO2 released.
Tons?
Tons.
Millions of tons. That's right there. Hey, thanks for reading.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody can read here. So U.S. has reduced by 40 millions of tons.
Yep. And China is 120.
Ukraine is right behind them.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, increases. China has increased by 100 million tons.
That's right.
India is like
second, number 2.
90 millions of tons.
And here's part of the point of all this. Even if the U.S. reduces, let's say, our CO2 emissions more, it's insignificant compared to actually if CO2 emissions are really going to impact our planet and our global climate. It's China and India that needs to do something about it.
And the
U.S.
EU.
do anything.
Look,
and the EU.
The EU is fourth
Wait
in
a
increases. Wait, where is she from? She's from Sweden?
Yeah, she's from Sweden.
Why is she?
This is like blackface for climate change. You know what I mean? Like
explain it to me.
Well, because the hypocrisy. You know, hey, it's wrong to be racist. It's wrong to wear blackface, and then you find
Trudeau's
yourself
got blackface,
with blackface.
yeah.
This is like them being caught in blackface. They're so high up in the emissions. They're pushing against it, right? And here they are leading.
Right. And all the major media outlets highlighted this, right?
No.
You funny. You stand up. You all right?
Right. What I mean, but here's the other thing: guys, don't buy the lie. I mean, even this chart is like, hey, look, we're being good.
Yeah.
According to this weird CO2
this
standard or whatever.
assumes that CO2 is bad for the environment.
Right.
What?
Right.
Actually, it turns out plants
need CO2. Trees. I
No,
hate
you
that.
didn't.
Yes, I did.
Trees
No.
need CO2.
They do they?
I mean, it's very possible that China, India, and Turkey could be the most environmentally prosperous nations over the next 50, 100 years because they increase their CO2 emissions.
So think
and
about
U.S.
this.
are we turning into a desert?
Yeah. Come on now.
Because we're cutting off all the CO2 that the plants need, the trees need.
Yeah. And of course, you're assuming. Yeah, no, neither can I. You're of course assuming their argument that CO2 that humans are affecting the environment in a catastrophic way or in a big way.
No, I'm just assuming the fact that plants need CO2 for photosynthesis.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Is if you cut off CO2, plants don't thrive.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's just fact.
Now think about this though. So the underground Christian church right now is thriving in two places, Africa and in China.
Right.
Yep.
What kind of culture is God creating there in China?
He's making an Eden for them.
That's exactly right.
Like, these.
They're going to come up out the ground.
Remember, God.
Have grapes they didn't plant.
God uses for good. He overrules what evil men mean for evil.
Right.
He means for good. In the Bible reading challenge this last week, we read through Genesis 50, and the 20. Story of Joseph it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And that's what he tells his brothers is what you meant for evil. What man meant for evil, God meant for good. So, Chinese communist, president over there cracking down.
Yeah.
And meanwhile saying, we don't care. We're gonna blow the CO2 out the.
Yeah. He's tilling the garden, baby.
He can't help but serve God.
He doesn't know what he's doing in God's hands. But
so I think it's what's interesting going on this last week. You also have this climate stuff going on,
right?
And then you also have the Democrats calling again for Trump's impeachment,
right? The Trump catnip continued apace this week.
That's right.
With the rumor that Trump had offered a quid pro quo deal to the Ukrainian president in a phone call back on July 25th.
Yep.
Okay.
So he had a phone call with the Ukrainian president. Presidents talk on the phone sometimes.
I'm glad.
And he apparently brought up on the phone call that he should investigate Joe Biden. And when asked in a phone call, so there was a whistleblower that was like, he suggested investigating Joe Biden,
Uncle Joe,
and the Democrats.
It also turned out that the whistleblower was not in the room on the phone call,
right?
So he wasn't even a true whistleblower,
right? Yeah, the rumor of a rumor of a rumor.
He's just a leaker.
Yeah. Anyway,
and the Democrats responded. Predictably by lighting their hair on fire.
Yeah,
it was already on fire. So they put gasoline on it this time?
Hairspray. They put hairspray on the fire.
They're like, wait, how do I get this to flame out even more? He's asked about it. Trump's asked about the phone call in a press conference earlier this week and was like, yeah, I brought it up with him. And they're like,
he's guilty.
Wait, what does that girl say?
Not with my headset in, man. Come on now.
I'm telling you got to get that and put it on a stinger. And that's so much better than that.
You mean this one?
I want the
create. There's something wrong with your ears.
But so then Pelosi announces an official impeachment inquiry.
Oh, she bent down to that, did she?
Yeah, because
she's
been opposed to it.
She's been holding out, saying she didn't think it'd be helpful. And you can go back and watch all those news conferences. But she comes out yesterday saying, I'm going to do it.
Really?
But Trump says, as they're all freaking out, says, look, I'll just release the telephone call. You can read it for yourself.
Here's the transcript.
There's nothing to see here. And they're like, see, he's guilty.
Wait, so Nancy Pelosi brought about official impeachment, before she even read the transcript, right?
An official impeachment inquiry in the face of Trump saying, I'll release the thing tomorrow.
Why?
He tweets out and says, I'm at the UN right now, at the UN summit meeting.
Yeah.
I'm going to release the transcript tomorrow. And Pelosi's like, I'm going ahead.
No due diligence.
Without reading the transcript.
So the transcript was released this morning.
Okay.
And it revealed that Trump did not offer any quid pro quo deal.
Oh, what?
But did ask the Ukrainian president to look into why Biden stopped the investigation of his son's involvement on a board of a natural gas company in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that Biden did as a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
So
wow, he's vice president.
Right.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Oh. Does that sound like quid pro quo to you?
Guys, just look at, it's right there. This is in 2018. And he's referring back to when he was vice president and the president was Obama.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he says, I'm going over there for the 12th or 13th time to Kyiv.
Yeah.
That's the capital of Ukraine.
Right.
Yeah.
And was had a loan guarantee of $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they said he was going to a press
If you
conference.
don't do-
and he says, I'm not going to announce it. I'm not going out to the press conference to announce it unless you take care of this prosecuting attorney. Now, listen, here's the deal. The prosecuting attorney that he's talking about was investigating the company that Biden's son is on the board of.
Yep, that's right.
Biden's son is on the board, and he's taking in, reportedly, $50,000, I think, a month
Yeah, it was a month.
That's incredible.
for serving on this board.
Hey, Dad, I got a problem.
Yeah. And he says, and right there,
Yeah.
this needs to take care of it. And he says, son of a bitch,
Yeah.
took care of it.
Yep.
Yep.
He said just like that, and he said the prosecutor got fired,
Right.
and
And replaced him with a pretty good guy.
with a pretty good guy, and then they got their $1 billion.
Up until the point. Yeah.
Okay, that's quid pro quo.
Right.
This for that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that's what they're accusing Trump of doing.
Yeah.
For raising the question about whether this should be investigated again.
So is he out of the presidential run now? Is he done? Is he going to, they're going to say, no, you can't be on the...
It's probably in the news somewhere that he's gone.
Yeah.
The
Democratic
I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah,
But
no,
here's the thing.
I can't find it
I
anywhere.
think part of what's going on is the Democrats, like you've mentioned, they kind of ratcheting up more and more. Their hair's on fire more and more. And I think part of it is because, when you're fishing, the closer the fish gets to the boat, the more it thrashes. And Trump is signifying to the UK, right? Deep in the heart of Texas. Trump is talking to the Ukrainian president and saying, hey, investigate Biden. So he's actually bringing the heat to the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party is like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to put you in impeachment.
So here's the principle, of course. Christians should hate bribery and extortion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's be clear about that. Deuteronomy 16:19 says, you shall not wrest judgment, you shall not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts the words of the righteous.
That's right.
Okay, so bribery is what Joe Biden just bragged about
Publicly.
Yeah, right.
publicly.
Yeah.
Or
While in office.
or extortion, basically threatening,
Yeah.
extortion, bribery. All those things are in the same category, and those who practice extortion will not inherit the kingdom of God. 1 Corinthians 6.
Yep.
I think, too.
It's like I don't know, suing a church for damages. It's called extortion.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's
Where's
right.
my burn sound at?
Burn, burn,
For
burn.
real, man. That's right. Also, too, one of the things is that they don't have the ability, the Democrats don't have the ability, and I think some Republicans, too, to see what true justice looks like. Like when someone has really been wronged. The fact that Democrats are on fire about Trump and can't see this, they're so seared from the heads being on fire that they can't even see.
And that's the thing is, I think what's happening is everybody, or at least, so the Democrats all just assume that basically the reason you investigate your political opponent
is because you're
is in
trying
order to
take them
throw rocks at them.
Sure.
Right.
Right?
It's not bringing true justice.
Because that's what they do.
That's
right?
right.
That's exactly what they do.
Sure.
But so the really unfortunate thing is you've got conservative Christians who are these, I think, blinded never-Trumpers.
Yeah.
I have no problem criticizing Trump.
Yeah,
and we've
right.
criticized him.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot to criticize.
There's stuff to criticize him about, okay? But some of these guys are blinded by it.
Right.
And they're
jumping on the impeachment
buying
bandwagon.
into it.
Right.
And what I don't think they see is that you're buying into that narrative that in order to investigate your political rival, it must be just throwing rocks at them.
Yeah.
But my question is whose job is it to ask the Ukrainian president to resume that investigation?
Yeah.
And
that you have somebody that has your back and that you won't be cut off. I mean, think about this.
Right.
They just got threatened by Joe Biden, vice president at the time. And so they are under a certain type of fear from the administration. And so now Trump has to come back and reestablish, listen, you're not going to have any pressure. Right. You're going to be able to do your investigation without being impeded from our side. I'll manage this. You do what you got to do to get justice. Okay, let's just assume that that's what has to be reestablished there.
Right.
Who else is going to give that kind of security?
Exactly. So I don't know who else does that. And even in the phone call, you can read the transcript. It was released. It's been released.
Yep.
And he's referring them. He's referring the president to the Attorney General Barr.
Yeah.
And Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the
He's
transcript.
referring them to. They're saying talk to them. They understand the situation.
Yeah.
That's all he's saying.
That's all. Yeah.
The other thing that you to keep in mind here is that the former Ukrainian prosecuting attorney who got fired because of Biden's threats, because of Biden's bribery and extortion, that prosecuting attorney has come forward saying that while they were while he or she, I can't remember who it was serving, they received word from the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. There was a list of people that the United States government was requesting they not investigate or prosecute.
Oh, he has that list, don't he?
Including a particular group that was co-founded by the Obama administration and George Soros.
Oh, surprise.
Who was later found to be collaborating with the FBI agents investigating the then Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort's business.
Wow.
So remember the whole Russian collusion thing and the Paul Manafort thing? So there's a group that was specifically put on the list for the former Ukrainian prosecuting attorney. Don't investigate them.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have this Biden thing. I'm not going to give you the guarantee of $1 billion unless you stop investigating my son's natural gas company.
Yep.
And Trump's like, that needs to be investigated.
Boy, this is like a remodel of an old house. As soon as you open up the walls,
don't forget,
who knows what's all inside of this
Don't
joker.
forget that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, while Hillary was Secretary of State, did a big uranium deal with Ukraine and supposedly pocketed a bunch of money out of that whole uranium deal
I hope that
to their foundation.
I hope that prosecuting attorney don't feel like committing suicide anytime soon.
Right, I know, right? Like
wow.
Serious.
Hey, man, just put out a tweet that you feel really good about yourself and you love life.
Right now.
Let us
right
know.
now.
Just give us a hand up. Let us know
a
you're
lot
okay.
of pictures with you and your kids.
Well, and I think part of the point in all this that we've been going through is all this basically fake news.
Oh, it's totally fake news.
With climate change and then with Trump's impeachment and with the real quid pro quo with Biden.
Right.
And one of the things that I really actually appreciate about Trump this last week is while this UN climate stuff is going on, Trump's not there. He didn't show up.
Yeah.
He went to a religious summit at the UN. He hosted a religious summit.
I think he hosted it.
Yeah, he hosted it.
He was like, this is something important we need to talk about.
Yep. Exactly.
The United States is founded on the principle that our rights do not come from government, they come from God.
Ooh. Somebody
This
give him an
immortal truth
organ.
is proclaimed in our Declaration of Independence and enshrined in the First Amendment to our Constitution's Bill of Rights. Our founders understood that no right is more fundamental to a peaceful, prosperous, and virtuous society than the right to follow one's religious convictions. Regrettably, the religious freedom enjoyed by American citizens is rare in the world. Approximately 80% of the world's population live in countries where religious liberty is threatened, restricted, or even banned.
Wow.
And when I heard that number, I said, please go back and check it because it can't possibly be correct. And sadly, it was 80%.
So
Trump's not playing games.
Right, and this is all over CNN, right?
I think Fox is the only one that covered this that I know of. Maybe other organizations.
So he's going to go on to.
This is why cross politics exists.
Exactly.
This is
exactly. Yep.
He goes on to say that there are 11 Christians killed every day for their faith.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now here's
granted not as much as abortion here in the U.S.
No, but seriously, that's real news.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
Right. 80% of the world's population lives in nations without religious freedom.
Yeah.
Where there's religious persecution. Now, there's some stuff in there that's where he's going to go on and basically just have a big tent approach to religion, Buddhists, Sikhs, Muslims, and so on.
Have a buffet.
But you know what? Christianity is the only worldview that can consistently actually argue for the right of those religions to exist.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
It's because Jesus is Lord and because we're created in the image of God
right.
that a Sikh man or a Muslim woman or a Buddhist child
doesn't get killed for sinning.
Can be protected by law.
Right.
Yeah.
From being raped and murdered and kidnapped.
Yep. That's right.
You can't get that. You can't get that from the secular gods. You can't get that from the neutral gods. You can't get that from the Muslim god. You can't get that from the Buddhist god.
Yeah. Right.
You can't get that from any of these, the Darwinian god.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
so let me poo-poo on this real quick. I wish he would have said that.
Yeah.
I wish he would have said. I wish he would have said, without Jesus Christ, without Christianity, we don't have religious freedoms.
Right. But what he did say, which was at least inching up to it,
It's better than what we've had.
Is that no? But what he said was, you can't get freedom from the state,
Right.
from the government. It comes from God.
Yeah,
Right. That's
but
right.
I think a lot of deists feel that way too.
Sure.
And so, but what they get down to is who gets to define what God gets to have. So I get that.
But I think making the distinction between man and God is a significant step, because like we can actually have a conversation now. Which God is it?
Sure.
Which God is it?
Yeah.
But what most of the time we spend our time arguing about is we don't even. Well,
We can't even have
God in the picture.
We can't have that conversation if Christ isn't Lord, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's part of my. And so I get what he's doing.
Yeah.
We don't even get that comment without Jesus Christ being Lord.
Right.
You know, we don't get that, and we don't get him pushing for religious freedom other places.
And Trump probably can't articulate
But
that.
I don't.
Maybe.
But I don't want to be.
Maybe, yeah.
What we have though is a lot of Christians that are so happy to hear God they forget about defining it.
Oh, sure.
And I want to be sure to make sure we hit that.
Good point. Very good point. It's not enough just to say God.
No.
We want to say
I wish he would have said what you said.
the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
But remember, the God that our founders believed in was the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Amen.
They stated it in the Constitution when they said that they founded our nation 1,789 years
In the
after
year
the
of our
birth
Lord.
of our Lord.
Yeah.
That's Jesus.
That's right. And the smoke, and even the guys in that area that weren't Christians,
Sure.
the smoke of that type of talk
Yeah.
was all over those guys.
They respected
Absolutely.
the Christian
We
faith.
are so far past that. We need to put some more smoke in that room so that those guys get saturated.
If we
in it.
evolved from monkeys,
absolutely.
then who
Absolutely.
cares if we're on a verge of mass extinction?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
If this is all a big accident and nothing happens after this, then just eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the last thing here is when this is just an exhortation to our listeners. When you guys read the news, when you see all this climate, hair on fire debacle, when you see the Democrats going after Trump under false pretenses of impeachment, and then you see Trump actually being a president and going after religious liberty, that's we got to be able to sort through all that as Christians and know what's real, what's not, and how should we be what should we be encouraging in our presidents.
And regardless of where Trump's heart is,
Right.
and despite the fact that are there hypocrisies in his life, and are there places
Absolutely.
where we say like
Right.
that's not godly, that's not
Right.
Christian,
Yeah.
but what is he doing right now?
Yeah.
He's speaking up for Christians,
Right.
And
right?
that's
And a lot of
to our shame.
and a lot of conservative Christian presidents have done a lot less.
That's exactly right.
Right? I mean, people
who had way better lives, right?
or at least
More
on the surface had their shirts tucked in and their hair
Right.
combed better than him.
Yeah.
I tend to
That's
think
pretty hard.
I tend to think that maybe George Bush would have been at the climate change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he needed to be.
So many of those. Yeah, that's the thing. So many of them would have been.
Yeah.
Because they're bound to those gods.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing that I think is at least promising about Trump, is he's like, I'm not going to the altar.
Well, if he's going to go this far, not to go to that particular climate change and to do this, he might as well go ahead and say Jesus Christ is Lord.
He might as well.
might as well
Amen.
go ahead and do
But
it.
if there was a president that was going to do it,
It would be him.
I would he's the one that would do it.
It would be him.
You know, if Pence says, look, it's just going to make him go crazy.
Yeah.
Jesus is Lord.
Coming
Like Kanye.
Coming up Sunday, is it Colonel Alan West or is it Alan West? I want to be sure to be respectful. Because anyway, Alan West is coming up. He can get on me Sunday about this on the show Sunday. So you don't want to miss that. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week or till Sunday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Crust Politics.